Look around the room right now. I can easily observe all of you here. Some leaning forward with curiosity, some hunching or sitting back with arm crossed. But I cannot hear the thoughts of your guys. And yet, isn't that how life works? We can never fully access each other's inner words. We can only see the behavior people choose to display. But here's something interesting. How often do those inside thoughts truly align with the subtle we act? Do we always practice what we preach? Do we leave out what we claim to believe? And if we don't, what is the thing stopping us? I wrestled this question for years, and this is what led me to the concept and also the main topic of my today's speech: the unity of knowledge and action. So today, I want to share you guys with my journey on realizing how this concept shapes my life and several tips that we can learn to help improve our lives and help us to become a more integrated individual. Here's one common misunderstanding of this concept. People sometimes comprehend knowledge here as cognition. However, the more accurate explanation is consciousness. There are slight differences between these two terms in psychology. Cognition is subjective. It is how we think and perceive the world. For example, imagine you and your friends are taking the same exam. You find it hard while your friends find it easy. That's cognition, based on our own experiences and understandings. Consciousness, however, is about awareness, seeing things objectively. For the same example, if you realize the fact that the test is not necessarily hard or easy, but depends on your preparation, that kind of awareness to treat facts in a neutral way instead of in the biased way, that's what consciousness refers to. When we integrate both, we move beyond just knowing and to truly embody our beliefs. Of course, these could be really difficult, especially when I navigate different rules throughout my life to explore the relationship between knowledge and action. As a debater, I train myself to be rational, to build arguments based on logic and evidence rather than personal bias. But outside debate, I caught myself clinging to subjective judgment I had once argued against. Objectivity in debate was easy, while objectivity in self-reflection was much more harder. Also, as a vlogger, I posted my daily life online, striving to be authentic. Yet, I was also aware of the contrast between created images on the screen and unfiltered reality behind it. It wasn't about deception, but rather a subconscious tendency to present only part of myself that aligned with the identity I have built. It took time for me to realize that these weren't just different rules at play. They were both reflection of the same challenge: the struggle to unify what I knew with how I acted. And this issue is not just personal, instead, as a universal adversity we see every day, all around us. Take a moment to think how we consume information today. We live in an era where information is more accessible than ever. Social media in particular amplifies this. It brings us the best version of everything. Perfect lifestyle, flawless arguments. While we often see this kind of disconnects as the phenomenon of public figure collapses on the internet. Every few weeks, another celebrity, influencer, or thought leader is exposed for an action that contradicts with their public persona. For example, you may see an influencer who declared to be a vegetarian while it's revealed to eat meat afterwards. Why does this keep happening? Because knowing the right thing is not the same as doing the right thing. Intelligence, eloquence, or even good intention will mean little if it is not reflected in action. It applies to all of us. Think about it. We've always been taught to be honest since we're very little. We criticize dishonesty in others. But how often do we tell small lies to make life easier? You may be said, "I've almost done with my homework," when you haven't even started. We know honesty matters, but sometimes we take an easy way out. Here's another example. We always advocate for the importance of mental health awareness. When your friend is stressed about exams, You tell them, take a break, get some rest, and not to be too hard on themselves. But when we are the ones struggling, how often do we ignore our own well-being? Take a moment to think, how many times have you been in this situation of incoherence? So, what can we do about this? If we truly want to bridge the gap between what we know and how we acted, we should start by holding ourselves accountable. And the real change does not start with a grand gesture. Instead, it starts with the small everyday choices we make. So that's exactly what I want to share you guys today. I used to read about 10,000 hour rule, which Malcolm Gladwell mentioned in his work, Outlier, the Story of Success. This is the idea that mastery in any fields requires deliberate practice over time. And I was then fascinated by the facts. Growth is not about passive understanding. It's about repeated action. Just like muscle strengthens through repeated movements, wisdom is also cultivated through continuous process. Once we understand this, it facilitates us to better achieve personal growth. When we act on what we learn, we don't just improve our skills, we transform ourselves. Every time we challenge our assumption, every time we align our action with our beliefs, we will become more as an authentic individual, more as a whole. So standing here, I want to encourage more people to follow the concept of the unity of knowledge and action, to follow our inside thoughts and express out the coherent action. Here are several tips that I learned from my personal experiences. The two main models are make a bold attempt and embrace discomfort. Things cannot automatically become better unless we try to change it. Real transformation comes when we move from inspiration to application. I remember the first time that I participated in the debate tournaments. I was so afraid about impromptu crossfire and always feel hesitant to speak. But as soon as I tried to rebut opponents under the intense atmosphere, I was amazed about my capability of delivering organized arguments. I believe a lot of you may share the same experience as me previously, feeling unwilling to speak English in publication. But just made a bold attempt. Start with a simple sentence, and you may also be amazed about your capability of telling story in English. Instead of simply admiring those who practice discipline, resilience, or kindness, we should really embody those traits in our daily life. Still, growth often requires unlearning old habits and confronting our own contradictions. But this kind of discomfort is just a proof that we are moving towards real change. So just appreciate the limits of ourselves. We often think change as something that happens from outside in, learning new facts, gaining new experiences, being influenced by the external environment. But the real change just happens from inside out. Achieving the unity of knowledge and action is not about immediate perfection. It's about continuous effort, step by step, moment by moment. Every time we act in accordance with our value, no matter how small the action, we bridge the gap between thoughts and reality. This journey requires patience. It demands self-awareness, discipline, and the courage to face our own inconsistency. But with every conscious effort, we grow. With every repeated action, we transform. And with every choice to embody what we believe, we move closer to becoming the person we aspire to be. So today, I want to challenge all of your guys here. Take one thought, one belief, one truth that you hold deeply, and bring it to life through action. Let knowledge guide you, let action define you, and let this too become the one. Wisdom is not just about knowing the right thing. It's about living, breathing, and becoming them. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to my speech today.